All right, hello, welcome everyone to episode 4 of Wicky's Cricket Podcast. Also, Shane and I were literally just speaking before we got on air that we will start getting guests onto the show and breaking off into a whole different topics. But for this one, it's going to be me and Shane again. So welcome, Shane again. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, it's good fun to be on. We're recording a little bit later in the day than we usually do. Uh, you could probably tell by the angle of the light on my face that I'm sitting in a it's not really a slightly new location. I just turned the table around and sat on the other side. So whereas you would normally get light on this side of my face, you now get light on this side of my face.
Yeah, I envision this to be a really interesting start to the people who are listening and not watching. But anyways. But yeah, it's funny. Well, like I assume it's close to 40 degrees in Delhi where you are, and it is icy cold in Sydney, and it was dark at like 5 p.m. So very, very different in terms of weather at the moment. And I think looking at that final day in the UK, I was looking at that and I was like, man, what I think I've spent 3 of the last 6 UK summers in Europe, even if it was for a couple of weeks. Like I've gone 3 times in the last
Yep,
6 years, and I didn't bloody go
yep.
this time with the Ashes on. Pretty heartbreaking.
Oh
But
no.
um,
So
but
my
yeah,
first question has to be, did you stay up until past 4 a.m. to watch the end of that test match?
yep. So funny story.
Yeah.
Like people listening in Australia will understand this. Like the Ashes is on like free to air, and it's not on paid television, so Foxtel or KO, which is really annoying because you can't record it, you can't tape it, so you've actually like got to stay up if you want to watch it. So the first couple of days we had other stuff on. I was watching as much as I could. But yeah, day 4 it was like set up perfectly. So stayed up. I think it was till 4, and Broad took ages to bowl the last over, so till 4:05
Mm,
a.m. The last day went till about 4:30 a.m. in the morning, I think. And
yeah.
the funniest part, this is super random, but as the um as the game finished, and obviously Australia got the win, someone was like outside the house, and I was like,
Mm,
why the hell is someone outside the house at 4:30 a.m.? I was like genuinely
yeah.
scared and like checking in, like looking outside the window, like what's going on kind of thing. It turns out it was like a delivery of some sort, but it was actually pretty. I was like, how is this person trying to rob the house at 4:30 a.m.? And coincidentally, I'm watching the Ashes and I'm actually up at the exact same time. But yeah, 2 very, very late nights and early mornings. How about yourself? Did you catch the end of the game?
Yes, I did. I think it was as sort of there was always this threat of rain looming in the background, and I thought, okay, if there's rain, I'm going to switch everything off, take a break. So waiting
Yep.
for the rain to come. It didn't come, and then I realized, oh, okay, we've got to, this is going to go the distance, and I'm going to like devote my I'm just going to be there until the end, and we're going to see this through because it was clear
Nice.
that after it became clear that it wasn't going to rain, we just had to see that through to the end. What a
Yeah.
finish! Crazy,
Well,
so good.
you know what? You know what I find funny? Like the first night, I full had a coffee to make myself like be able to stay up. The second night, like we've obviously got our Discord community where we chat all things sport. I think I had 1 or 2 guys on there that I was chatting to. I had one of my friends that was staying up as well, and every now and then I think you or
Yeah.
Ash were sending the odd message through. So like I had like a couple of people keeping me going, and I didn't even need the coffee. Like
Mhm.
obviously the game, like you knew that like you were staying up for the end of the game, and there was that incentive,
Yep.
and like a couple of people to chat to, which kept me going. And I was tweeting quite a bit as well. It was really cool. Like it was really cool to
Mm.
see the ebbs and flows in the game, and like how Twitter was responding. And I think with the Wiki
Yep.
Twitter feed, we're really lucky that we have like like educated pundits like putting stats out. We've got journalists who are at
Mm.
the game putting interesting stuff out there. And then you've got
Yep.
me from the Wiki Twitter just saying, oh my God, every time something crazy happens. I
Hey,
was
that was at least I was more sincere to the emotion of the moment.
oh man, like you just had to have caps lock on the whole time when you were when you were talking about the game. But anyways, look, let's get to the game itself. I gotta say, I don't think the game played out any differently to what I was thinking pre-game. Thought England's batting would be a little bit better, to be honest. And like obviously
Yep.
Root was amazing. I think with something like
Mm.
it was really funny. I actually like by obviously there's 4 games to go. I think I'm gonna have
Yep.
like a party at my house for one of the nights and literally play a drinking
Yeah.
game every time they say the
Yeah.
word baseball, have a drink. I'm so keen to play that to
Yeah.
see how that night ends up. But I think
Don't,
with
just for the sake
baseball,
of your health, just don't do that.
I think with the way that England's approaching the game, it's
Hmm.
funny. Like I love it because it's entertaining, but I'm also like a
Hmm.
really traditional Test cricket fan, and I think
Yep.
the one thing you have to realize is like with them playing in this way, you can't like you can't go half-hearted. So, declaring
Hmm.
when Root was not out on 118, yes,
Yeah.
people said it was ridiculous at the time, people said it was ridiculous after the
Hmm.
result. There's so many things that frustrated me, but I think it's also a sense of just let them do their thing and let this like perfect two different styles of cricket just play out. But anyways, what were your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I just want to say, first off, great call on Root being England's best bat. That prediction's off to an absolute flyer. So good.
Yep. I
I
think
guess,
I
I
said
guess
man
it,
of the series. I think I said Root Man
yeah.
City. I
I
think, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we got into my I don't think I mentioned which batters I thought would be the best from each side. I think I only mentioned the bowlers. This outstanding start to my prediction for Robinson being England's best bowler, by the way. So good, like just shows you how much I know about the game. But yeah, it was such a good it was just like such a satisfying finish, like to actually I think it was also because there was this threat of rain, and as that threat sort of slowly receded into the background, you just got a sense that okay, we're going to see a really really historic finish, and then
Mm,
the runs and wickets equation kept sort of moving in tandem. Like they
mm,
lost a wicket every 50 runs, and then suddenly you're like 2 wickets in hand, like 70, 80 more runs to go. Like oh, like it's like perfectly on a knife edge, and um,
mm.
I remember when Cummins came into bat it was at that time that I thought, my God, he's going to do another Johannesburg here. He's going to do what he did on his debut. He's going to hit the winning runs. Um, and I know a lot of people constantly compared this test to the
Go five.
2005 Edgbaston test. But I thought, and but the like as the sort of like as Australia got closer and closer to the target, I also began thinking about how this was kind of like Headingley in 2019, and I was really really glad to hear Mel Jones make that comparison after the game as well. It was just I was like, yes, somebody else sees this as well, right? And what would have really completed the symbolism of the moment for me would have been if Cummins had got those winning runs of Stokes in a role reversal from what had happened at
That would have
Headingley,
broken
and
my
Stokes got
heart.
the winning runs of Cummins. It was just been perfect. Oh my god!
Yeah.
And it's weird. I feel like sometimes I do feel that Cummins and Lions partnership, rightfully, of course, like because it grabbed all the headlines and occupied so much of the attention, obscured a few of the other things as well. I felt
Mm.
that the fact that it's almost kind of forgotten that Lyon took 8 wickets in this game and that Cummins
What?
bowled beautifully. And
Oh
yeah, and
wow.
it's just so he took 4 wickets in the first innings, right? On the first in the first
That's why I
innings.
think got overshadowed because
Over.
he got 4 and 4. If he got 5 and 3 or
Exactly,
three and
right?
five, everyone's like, "Oh my god, he got a 5-5." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But he's the top wicket taker in the series after the first game, and I'm glad that at least one of my predictions is has got off to a good start. So yeah, that's 8 for
Yeah,
Lion, and yeah, I mean the fact that you were surprised that Lion took 8 wickets in this game
yeah, 100%. Like
just
I
kind of
remember
like shows
him.
how
I
it just got overshadowed by everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I watched like there was some like for half the test, I watched the game like live, every ball, full attention. But then for the
Yep.
first couple of days, I like kind of watched it like taped in the morning or the highlights package or whatever. So I think I had like that's what I love about Test cricket. It's like everyone has their own way of watching it. Sometimes you're watching with friends, sometimes and like because it's 5 days, like you the best way to say it is you probably were too young for this, but like the '05 Ashes, the game where, like, obviously they won by 2 wickets. England won by not 2 wickets, 2 runs. Sorry. I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing. It was a school night. I was in my bedroom with like the smallest TV you can imagine, and just like
Yep.
glued to the TV up till
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 a.m., whatever it was. But I still
Mm.
remember that moment. It's like that's what I love about like and it's really hard with T20 cricket on all across the world every single day of the year, pretty much. But these games that are like set up like this, I love that you can always go back and be like, that game, I remember I was with this friend or I was at this place. That's what I love
Yeah.
about Test cricket. Um,
Yeah.
but sorry, I don't know if we've mentioned this already, but I was saying this to who was I saying this to? I was saying this to someone today, but Kawaja, like I know he won man, or I think I
Yes.
went to bed by the time they announced that he was man of the match. But I think it was
Mm.
like it was weird. Like I just kind of if Australia was going to win, I wish that he was there at the end because that would have just been perfection, like
Perfect.
absolutely
Yeah.
perfection. But yeah, I hope he's not forgotten about. You know what? Really, like this is really random, but it surprised me. He's played like 67 tests or 65 tests, and I was saying to someone
Yeah.
that like when I think about it, yeah, like I think his first test would have been just over 10 years ago. I
2010,
think about
2011. Yeah.
2011 ish. Yeah, yeah. So he's
2011.
played
Yeah.
like 12 years of test cricket, but because he's been in and out so much, it
Mm.
crept up on me that he's actually played 65, 67 tests, whereas Warner's only played
Mm.
105. And I was like, oh wow, like
Mm.
if you asked me to guess, I would not have thought Kawaja has played 67 tests. I would have said closer to like 40 or 50.
Mm.
So yeah, I
Mm.
hope he gets his moment to sort of get the true acknowledgement for what he did. That was spectacular.
Um, Khwaja's two innings in this game were scored at strike rates of 43 and 32. So clearly, baseball doesn't
Ah,
work.
love it. Love
Um,
it.
it was perfect. Like I feel like it's that's the sort of big story about this Ashes, right? It's not just the competition, it's not just the rivalry. It's also ideological. It's also supposed to be
Exactly.
baseball versus patient cricket, and everybody. And I think everybody's sort of reasserting, yes, this is the way we're going to play. This is the way we're going to play, whether in victory as it is for Australia or in defeat as it is for England. And it's like I just love that the oldest rivalry in cricket is just like it keeps getting these new layers for each series. It's just
Yes.
I love it
Storylines
so
were
much.
excellent. Look, I think with England and baseball, like I don't know. I've always, because I think I mentioned this too, I've always played cricket as like a captain, a vice captain, a coach, whatever. Like I'm always thinking about like managing the game, or if like a captain or a coach does something, I always say to people like, "Shut the hell up, man! Like these guys playing international cricket. You got the coach and the captain of the country. Like don't be
Yeah.
debating on what they're doing." So my opinion would be pretty boring because like I disagreed with 10 different things that England might have done,
Hmm.
but my thing is let them do what they're doing. Just shut up and enjoy the game. So my opinions would be pretty boring.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on all things England this
Um,
test?
all things England. Yeah. So just something about so just to sort of build on what you said about just let them do what they're doing. I find it really interesting, funny that um, it's so there was a moment in Australia's first innings when Harry Brook came out to bowl, and on Sky, Ponting was just, and I put a tweet out about this as well, sort of back, sort of not too long ago. And on commentary, Ponting was like he sort of said something like, "Oh my God, what is this? What is happening? What is going on? Like I cannot I can't understand what just happened." And Atherton said, I mean, in fairness to him, he was saying this like he was joking about it. He said, "Oh, that's baseball, Ricky. Like it's just baseball. So like it's okay." Like I love how that one word has just become this justification for everything now, or
Yeah.
it's fast becoming a justification for everything, for bizarre tactics, for a lack of results, for uh, approach, for strategy, for bowling changes. It's just
Yeah.
that's just baseball. So
Yeah. Well, one thing, sorry, I don't want to comment on the actual cricket related to baseball, but what, like, I'll let you do that. But the one thing that I love, I'm also really passionate and interested about leadership. So, and I'm big on sort of like storylines and careers and all that kind of thing. And honestly, more than anything, what I've really been happy with is like Stokes, like Flintoff was like, well, Warren was my idol as a child. Flintoff was my hero as a teenager. And like what Stokes has done has just,
mm,
oh my God, that 2019 summer that he had, well, UK summer.
yeah,
So like,
yeah,
these guys are like the guys that I just personally love, right? And I think the big thing for
mm,
me is like, obviously Stokes has had his own mental health sort of struggles and he's been through the highs and lows in his sort of cricket career. But what I love is Joe Root. Joe Root was never meant to be a long-term leader or captain, but he's an elite batsman. So what I've
yeah,
loved is just him being relaxed, him smiling, him not having the weight of the world on his shoulders. Stokes taking
yeah,
that weight, and McCullum. It's almost like
yeah,
McCullum is enabling Stokes to be chilled out. Stokes
yeah,
is therefore, he's like an intense character, or like, you know, he's had so many incredible moments in his career and he's had so much said about him. And it's like if McCullum is like letting or forcing Stokes to loosen up a little bit and relax a little bit, and then Stokes is doing that for the rest of the team, and Root doesn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he can just bat and be elite.
Yeah.
So I think like that
Yeah.
whole balance of leadership and personalities. Oh, I just love that, man. Like that's what I love about
Yeah.
sport, whether it's cricket or rugby or whatever. To
Yeah.
see like that play out, and like I've had a really sort of like strong attachment to the English cricket team because in '05 when Freddie did what he did, I fell in love with not only Freddie and not only that Ashes team, but from then on I fell in love with English cricket. So to be able to, like, I hate when they come here and they get smashed by Australia and the media turns on them and stuff. And it's like you're playing a team that's better than you in their conditions and you're getting beaten. Like, it's okay. But obviously they don't think like that. They're professional cricketers. So I love that they can go to.
They shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, I love how they in England they can kind of, well, we're seeing now, like they're just happy. They're playing cricket in their own conditions. The crowd's behind them. Just really happy for Root and really happy for the English
just
team.
like I'm really glad you brought up the bit about them being happy. There was a point in the second innings of the game where I think Root took a catch and he was just so happy. He was just laughing and smiling.
Yes.
And having watched him throughout 2021 when he was batting so well, but his team was getting hammered after the first 3 tests of the year. It was just like it was night and day, and this. It is funny that we're saying this about a team that just went 1-0 down in a home series, and is going to extend their run of not holding the Ashes for the first time. Like,
Nah.
when was the last time they won the Ashes? 2015?
No,
Yeah, 2015.
Well, yeah, but like I'm still confident. I'm still confident that I'm still confident that England won't lose.
Yeah.
Sorry. England will either win this series or draw this series. I'm still confident that England won't lose this series. But the only thing that worried me, there's two things that worried me, is if Stokes over bowls himself, which he didn't this game, but God, every time he bowls, my heart's in my mouth. Like, I'm just so scared.
Yep.
That's one thing. And I don't even think from a cricket point of view, just, he's leading this new way of playing. And if he's not there, I'd be worried. The other thing that worries me is if the pitches are this flat, I know I said I wouldn't say anything about baseball. And this isn't related to, I guess, their way of playing. It's the pitches. What the hell? Like, the Aussies cannot bat in seaming or spinning conditions, or they struggle. Why would you, like, I understand it helps bat more, like England bat more aggressively, but that really pissed me off. I was like, I wanted to see Broad dominate Warner on a moving, like when the ball's moving a lot. That's one thing that I'll say that genuinely pissed me off. So if the pitches are flat, then I think fine, Australia can win the series. But if the pitch is just a little bit more bowler friendly, I reckon England comes back and they can inspire the nation with a come from behind Ashes win.
Yeah. With the flat pitches, what was I going to say about the flat pitches? Let me look at my notes. Hang on. Early declaration flat pitches, tight bowlers. Oh yeah. So with the flat pitch, it's maybe it's because they lost an Ashes test that there's more scrutiny on the result than usual, and we're sort of seeing first signs of complaints that the vibes are good, attacking cricket is good, style is important, but you shouldn't forget about results, which is fair enough. That's, I think that leads us into a separate direction, but obviously when you have flat pitches that enable you to bat quickly, the opposition is under no compulsion to bat in the same way as you do. So Australia can just take their time. So if you only bat for less than a day on the first innings, it almost enables Australia to bat a bit more, Khawaja mostly, to bat a bit more patiently. So take their time. And that I don't really want to say, so I don't want to say something as sweeping as baseball plays right into Australia's hands, but it is true that the extra time created in the game isn't necessarily to England's benefit on a flat pitch as we saw in the first game. Like, we actually have like an actual test case in front of us right now. And that will be something that's interesting to watch going forward, especially with the number of overs that forces the quicks to bowl, and that also really, really, really shows up the lack of variety in that attack. which
Yep.
is why I think you'll get your wish soon and see Mark Wood in the team very, very soon.
Oh,
Just for
wait.
just yeah, just for a bit of extra pace, just for a bit of
I'll stay up
variety,
till
just for
4 a.m. every
etc.
day if he's
etc.
playing.
Yes. Oh, that'd be perfect. Yeah. So I think those will be some things to keep an eye on going forward. Like those are a couple of trends that I think we can extrapolate
Yeah.
to the rest of the series and see how those go. Those will be things that I'll be like really really keen to see going forwards.
Yeah,
Um,
well, one thing I wanted to
uh,
ask is like
yeah.
I'm a big one for like there's no point complaining about something when we're not the ones that can actually make any changes, right? So the only thing I want to ask you about best housekeeping, obviously it was a few crucial mistakes, but that's fine. Everyone in
Yeah.
the media is going to talk about that, so I don't want to just
Hmm.
repeat that. Can I ask you a question though? I know that
Yeah.
teams do this differently, but folks, is he like even in the he's not even the squad, is he? Like, can they pick him
Hmm.
if they wanted to for the second test?
I think they've picked a squad for the first two tests.
Yeah. So, like, what I was saying to one of my
So if
friends is that I
Folks is
don't even
not
think
in
he
that
can be
squad,
picked.
yeah. So if Folks isn't in that squad, uh, he isn't. Um,
Yeah.
they can't make that change before the third test at the earliest.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
basically what I was trying to say. Like, one of my friends was saying how, yeah,
Hmm.
obviously best housekeeping, like, yeah, it's just not working, right? So I hate this
Yeah.
discussion. Sorry, I shouldn't say hate. Like, it annoys me when people have discussions around things that like just aren't going to happen. So like theoretically, though, in
Okay,
the
then this
third
podcast is in
test.
trouble.
Well, no. Theoretically,
Hmm.
if folks
Yeah.
was playing in the third test, right? What do you think is the most likely thing that England would do? Is it Bairstow would open and like Crawley or Duckett would kick up,
Um,
or is that too
he'd probably
ridiculous?
yeah. He'd probably stay in the middle. I wouldn't be. I mean, if Bairstow's keeping is considered such a problem, um, they might. What I could see is, oh, geez. So they do have other wicket keepers in the squad already. Like Pope has kept in Test cricket before. You might remember that
Yep.
he came in as a sub keeper in Australia the last time England were there,
Yes.
and he sort of kept randomly in the middle of the game, and he did well from memory. He actually did, and then I think they brought in Sam Billings as like the full time keeper, and there was that crazy
Yep.
drive he had and all that. So, but yeah, like I think they do have Pope in the squad as an option. One thing that I did sort of realize about Besto while sort of like doing some work for this pod a little bit earlier in the day. Um, he's obviously coming off an injury. He's obviously not kept a lot. But I didn't realize how little he kept for England in Test cricket and probably white ball cricket as well because Butler's the white ball keeper. Um,
Mm.
so Besto was England's keeper in the last Ashes in England, which was in 2019. Since then, in the 4 years since then, he's kept in three tests,
Oh wow,
including the last one,
Jesus.
which was and it just sort of like really hit me. I'm like, oh my god, this is not very much Test cricket at all.
Oh
Um,
God.
So yeah, but I guess that also means you could take the gloves off him just as easily.
Yeah,
Either
but as
to
in like
Folks or
that's what
Pope.
I'm saying. Like what I'm saying is like you got the
Hmm.
four bowlers at the bottom. You've got Pope, who's the vice captain, Root,
Yeah,
Brooke, Stokes. So your number 3 to 6 will not change. Bairstow's fitting nicely at number 7 at the moment. If
yeah.
Folks takes that spot, the only thing you can pretty much do is put Bairstow to open the batting. Do you think there's any chance that England would do that, or they just wouldn't do that? It's too much.
Mm, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
I know if Moeen Ali had stayed inside, they might have forced him to open again, which is he's batted everywhere for England and like yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That would be amazing. Get a left. Oh wait,
Yeah, I
Duckett's already
mean,
a left-hander. But yeah, sorry. Yep, yep.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, yeah. If Moeen were to stay in the team, who knows how bad the injuries,
So
whatever.
why are you saying
Yeah.
if the finger?
He had the finger. Yeah, I don't know how bad that is actually.
It's a week's break though. It
I'll
should be fine. It's an 8-day break between tests, so I reckon he should be okay.
okay, cool. Yeah, sick.
Hmm.
I haven't actually followed up on the status of his injury. Yeah, but he's another guy who's opened before for the team, batted everywhere, whatever. Yeah, I could see that happening.
Oh,
Um,
that would be amazing. Oh my God. So I was actually saying to my friends that if in the second test, if the pitches are going to be this flat, they've got to get Mark Wood in there, like 100%.
Yep.
As like Robinson, he looked good at times, but he also just didn't have enough. Like for me, I'm not excited about because if the pitches are going to be flat, and he's bowling late 120s, like what is the difference between him and Broad? And if there's not going to be as much movement, just get Wood in. Okay, it is. So I'm putting Wood in there.
Yeah.
I'm pissing off one of Duckett and Crawley. I don't even care which
Yep.
one it is, whichever one has the worst record,
Okay.
whatever. Get Ali in to open the batting, and I want Stark playing for Australia. And oh my god, the thought of Stark, who I thought India's batting, I was worried about, and they still got the best of Stark. The thought of
Hmm.
Stark bowling to these English batsmen, oh my god, I cannot wait. That would be amazing. And then Wood trying to knock everyone's head off. Oh my god. All right,
Yeah.
talking
Uh,
myself into getting excited for
just
the second
one thing
test.
really quickly about Besto. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like he started off okay while keeping. Like at the very start of the innings, he took a leg side take off Brooks bowling. He dealt with the late movement pretty well on a couple of occasions. There was that catch of Labuschagne,
Mm,
but then it went like really really bad really quickly. And sometimes and I just wonder if um, do England win if he takes those chances? Maybe
mm,
like he had a couple of missed stumpings and that dropped catch of Carey, and you feel like with 80 runs to defend and only 2 wickets to get, England should have got that, and they just looked out of ideas at the end. They got a little too defensive. I do
mm.
feel like Australia do deserve a bit of credit there because if you remember, right after Khwaja got out from
Yep.
memory, Khwaja got out. Yeah, I think it was him. Um, mm,
I think so. One
yeah.
thing I wanted to
So
say on the
yes,
whole. Oh, sorry.
yeah,
No, no. If you got
yeah.
your momentum back, you go. You go first.
Oh no, I was just saying. So I think right after Khwaja got out, you might remember Carey was just taking a ton of risks, like trying to hit over the top and coming
Yes.
down the track, etc. And you think that, oh my god, like what is he doing? And eventually he was out to root, right, cotton ball. But I feel like because they were already like into double digits from the victory target at that point, I feel like that was a good move.
Mm,
Because if you are a bit positive and you want and you're willing to like take chances and play those shots and get like boundaries and quick runs, that does put pressure on the opponent no matter how many wickets down you are. And you could see how like
mm,
Stokes went defensive, and then England looked like a bit out of ideas with the ball, and then they delayed in taking the new ball, etc. I feel like they had the right idea. Like Cummins sort of came down and hit one over the off for four. I feel like that was a good move, and I think my opinion has changed on this like over God knows how much Test cricket I watched. That it is worth taking those risks, and I feel like Kerry did have the right idea, even though he got out in the end. Um, like if you try to drag out the game too long and try to get it in singles when you're 80 runs away, you
yep.
probably will fail. But if you
Yep.
try to get it when you're if you try to get it in singles when you're 20 runs away, that could also go wrong. But
Mm.
it has a much higher chance of succeeding if you got the previous 60 runs in boundaries. You know,
Yeah, well, one thing I
um,
will say, we probably should have covered this at the
yeah,
start. Just breaking down that last couple of hours, we'll just make one last point about this and we'll move on to the women's ashes. But one thing I loved, and as I said, I'm big on tactics and stuff. One thing I
yeah,
absolutely loved is the approach by both teams. And I think like what I think is now missed, but what would have gone down in like absolute folklore forever was the decision for Stokes to not take the new ball and
mm,
bowl route again when the new ball was available was
yeah,
ridiculous. Like, don't
yeah,
know why he did it, but for him to do that and then root to hang on to a pretty good bloody cotton bowl catch against Carey would have gone down
yep.
in history as one of like the best strategic, or the one of
Genius.
the most notable
Yeah,
strategic moves in
yeah.
Test cricket.
Same with
Like, it would have
the
been this huge
same with
thing.
the early declaration on the first day. Had they got Warner or Khwaja out,
Oh,
maybe that
yeah,
too.
okay, fine. Well, yeah, but oh my God, that
Anyway,
kills me
yeah,
to that. But anyways, so like that's one thing, right? That would have been
yeah.
incredible. The other thing was, what was I going to say? After that, who was in after that? And yeah, if you're watching, you would have seen this. There was an over where he went all in on Root because he bowled him again, and then Cummins went
Mm.
6-4-6, I think it was. I think he hit 16 runs off that over or more, maybe. He definitely hit one
Yeah,
six. I think he
14 or
hit two
16 something like that.
sixes, a four, and something else, maybe. But
Yep.
that over, like, it's funny. Like, I was actually saying to a friend, shows you how wrong I got this. That Australia's tail sucks, and they've sucked for 3 years. And Cummins was amazing with the bat, or like really good with the bat for a couple of years. But the last couple of years he's been
Mm.
crap, so he's not going to do anything. And my friend
Yep.
replies saying, "Nah, Cummins looked good in first innings." I'm like, dude, it's one
Yep.
innings versus 2 or 3 years with a pretty ordinary Test match batting, and then there you go.
Yeah.
Cummins shows intent. He was just on,
Mm.
man. Like the
Yeah.
belief, like the way he was carrying himself. I guess the flat pitch
Yep.
helps, but the way he was carrying. Like, honestly, like I was saying to the 2 or 3 people that were awake and chatting to me, I was like, Australia never give up, and obviously I support England in the
Mm.
Ashes, but I was like, Australia never give up, and didn't think they'd get close, to be honest. Like I thought
Yep.
there's a reason to be nervous, but
Mm.
with Cummins, Line and Hazelwood left, I was like, you can't do this. Like you can't. But then when it got to like 20 runs, I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, they've
But
done this. Yeah,
yeah, it
it's really
was
good that he made those runs in the company of Lyon rather and not with another batter. Like had he made
yeah,
those runs with Haja or Kerry or Head, maybe wouldn't
yep.
have been as iconic because I think because he it's not just that he got the runs, it's just that he led from the front and took the initiative and attacked the spinner and got the boundaries when they were 70 runs away and 2 wickets down.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. Great leadership, great batting, and like you got to say, I think, of course, Australia deserved that. They did really well. 1-0 up in the Ashes. Very hard for England to now go, win 3-1 or 3-2. But as I
Yep.
said, as long as the pitches are a little bit more bowler friendly than this one was, I think England
Yep.
can pull it back because
Yep.
England's got depth. Like I know there's there's Nisa and there's Stark and there's I feel like I'm forgetting one more. Is there another Aussie quick in the squad? I feel like I'm
Boland, Hazelwood.
no. As in, like people that didn't play this
Oh,
test.
apart from
There's
them, yeah.
Nisa,
I don't
Stark,
think
and
so. Yeah, I think it's just all rounders after that.
yeah. Well, there you go. So like, I reckon. Yeah. Anyways, we'll see. We'll see. But as
Hmm.
long as
Cool.
as long as the pitch is a bit more bowler friendly, I'm very confident. And oh my god, it's like a week away, but I'm already excited. But let's move into it. And funnily enough,
Yep.
it's when the women's Ashes is starting, the women's State of Origin will be on at the same time. So it's going to be a really good
Yes.
night for Aussies watching women's sport. But
Yep.
so just look, this is super niche, but if anyone is into it, the women's Origin, Queensland won the first game, so New South Wales have to win by 9 points or more to clean the shield.
Yep.
So that's my 10
Excellent.
seconds of
Yeah.
women's rugby league
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
But
Excellent. Great game. That first game was great, by the way. The women's origin, first game, that was good fun.
nice. Well, let's get into it. So women's cricket, aside from watching WBBL and obviously knowing quite a few of the well-known international players, there's probably not too much more that I know. So I think for me and obviously everyone listening, best way to start would be give us some context. What's
Yes.
the structure of the Ashes, and tell us about this game.
Yes. So we're recording this on the 22nd of June on the Thursday, and in probably an hour and a half from now, same time as the men's Ashes starts. The women's Ashes begins with a test match at Trent Bridge. I vaguely mentioned this at the end of the last episode, and we're at that day now. And the women's Ashes is played over a multi-format series, kind of like you mentioned that New South Wales need to get win by 9 points to get the shield in Origin. It's kind of like that with the point system in the women's Ashes,
Nice.
because so it's played over a test match and 3 T20s and 3 ODIs, and you get points for winning each game. And the winner, like the overall winner, is decided by how many points you get
Nice.
overall. This test match is pretty significant because it's being played under new conditions. They're using a Duke's ball as opposed to the Kookaburra that they usually
Nice.
do. And this game goes 5 days, which is another big significant development. We've heard calls for 5-day test matches in the women's game quite a bit because a lot of those games have ended in draws. And maybe those games wouldn't have ended in draws had they had an extra day to play. So that's something that's going to be very, very that's going to be really interesting to watch whether that facilitates the result along with the ball being used, etc. That should be good fun. When England played India in 2021 in a test match, that was a game which I felt could have easily like that's a game that I felt like could have benefited from another day, for
Was
example.
that when Shafali
I felt
Verma
that.
got a 50 or 100? She did like really well in that
Yeah,
game.
I think they did that in the second innings. Yeah, you could tell
Yeah,
that the
oh, she
England
was
bowlers
so
were
good.
tired making the Indians follow on. Yeah, because it's just like yeah, and in fairness, that was also played on a used pitch from memory, so probably that surface was a bit
Mm.
slower than normal.
Quick
Uh,
question, sorry. I just like if I'm watching something I don't know too much about, first thing I do is like check the betting odds just to see like what the expectation
hmm,
is and who's the favorite. Like I assumed Australia was the favorite, but they're actually very
yeah.
strong favorites. And like
Hmm.
England is, or according to the odds, roughly a 1 in 5 chance of winning. Is the English team that much weaker than the Aussie team?
Not really. It's just they're well, maybe I have an inflated sense of their capabilities, but they just like they haven't beaten Australia in any format since
Oh wow,
2019. I think since the
Jesus. Okay.
last Ashes of England, from what I remember, it's just they were very disappointing in the last Ashes, which was in Australia. Like I, I had watched them throughout the 2021 summer. I watched them beat New Zealand. I watched them sort of do really, really well, etc. And I thought, okay, great. This is like this is good. This is the good sign. They're well prepped, and they just did turn up in Australia. They it
Well,
it
I think like in
I
obviously
think
men's cricket, like the
yeah.
players have a lot of opportunities to play in different countries and obviously quite consistently do that. And now the T20 leagues, right? So obviously the women's game is developing really quickly and they are starting to get those opportunities. But I would have thought like home conditions are even more important in women's cricket because they don't play as much cricket and especially as much cricket in different conditions. Um, would that be fair to say?
I mean, if Australia that good, I don't think it matters that much.
Ah.
Um, like they're just really good. The one exception I would say to that was the Canberra test between these two at the start of last year. Oh my god, easily one of the best test matches of last year. Thrilling finish. Heading into the last hour of play, all four results were possible, and eventually England finished nine down, about 15 runs away from a win. So it actually
Mm,
like it legitimately could have gone in
damn.
any direction, including a tie. Thrilling,
Okay.
incredible game, just so good. Yeah.
Well, quick question, sorry. Because I'm just trying to think of like how I break down like games in the competitions or whatever that I don't know too much about, right? So the other way that I think about this is like I know in the women's big bash, for example, like there's some team like the guns, like the absolute guns, like Sophie Devine, for example. It's just like they're so far better than others. Whereas like in men's cricket, usually like you can have a star, but like or a couple of stars, but like the overall depth is quite strong. Whereas in women's cricket, you might have like two or three absolute guns and another three or four really good players. So what's the sort
Hmm.
of balance between like I know Australia has a star-studded team. What about England? Like, do they have like how many players of theirs do you reckon are like elite, like directly comparable to the Aussie guns? Or does Australia just have way more depth and way more better players?
I wouldn't say they have way more better players. No, I think probably England have. Um, so England have actually announced their 11 for the Test match already.
Oh,
Um, and they've got there's like one or two slight surprises, I would say. I'd say they're like probably uh three or four English players who are like genuinely really really good, and
oh.
it's and not. I mean, actually, I wouldn't say genuinely really really good. I would say genuinely really really good against Australia, which is I think a very important factor. I think Nat Silverbrand is going to be worth keeping an eye on for sure. I think Sophie Eccleston, who played her first women's Big Bash season
Is she the
like last
leggy?
season, a left arm spinner.
Ah, who's the British leggy then? Is there one or am I getting this wrong? No?
Mm,
Maybe she's a Kiwi. Kerr?
yeah, Kerr's a Kiwi. England do
Sorry.
have a leggy, but she's not in the Test squad.
Okay, okay. My bad.
Not
Yeah.
named in the 11, whatever. Yeah,
Sure, sure.
yeah. So yeah, yeah. So I think the like three or four players. Knight was excellent in that Canberra Test match. She was so good. Like it was one of those batting on a different pitch type innings. Like actually just so much better than everybody. Like literally, like she would not get out like in that first innings, and they were just targeting Australia, were just targeting the other end. Let me put it this way: so in that game, Heather Knight made 168 not out. Can you
Oof.
guess? what the next highest score was on the England team?
Like a 45?
Close enough. It was 34.
Jesus,
Um,
wow.
and that was Eccleston. So Knight made 134 more runs than the next highest scorer. I
Ooh,
think when somebody makes that big 100 and nobody else gets to even 50, fantastic
yeah.
innings, by the way. Anyway, yeah, just like she was really good in the second innings as well before Darcy Brown got her LB, which is another sort of really pivotal moment in that game. England, I will say that England are equipped to play like super aggressive cricket through the middle order because they've chosen to start Danny Wyatt, who's like a very explosive opener in T20 cricket and like sort of
Ooh.
has opened for England in one-day cricket before and also batted lower down. She's one to keep an eye on. Sophia Dunkley is another one in the middle who's like just like an intent merchant, um, who's also going to be worth keeping an eye on. So they can up the rate of scoring when required. Um, it's and they're also under a new coach, I think, compared to the last Ashes they played. So it's quite a bit has changed about quite a bit has changed about that team in the last like since the last Ashes. So it should be, but that
Awesome.
core is still there. But they've
Mm.
tried out but they've got a bunch of new players in the team as well. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm going to check out the Women's State of Origin team in a couple of minutes after we finish this podcast because the teams are about to
Yep.
be released. So I'll check out
Yep.
the Women's State of Origin teams, and I want to try to
Yep.
figure out how I can watch the Women's Ashes. Hopefully, it's on KO because then I can watch the highlights the next morning.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think you've given me just enough context now where I actually
Hmm.
know know a little bit more about the players. I'll ask you one last question about the Women's Ashes because I think with this, like, I need to. For me, it's like all about a team. So I'm going to try to
Hmm.
support England if they're the outsiders. What does England
Yep.
need to do to spring an upset? What needs to go right for them in this test?
Hmm. Um. Score more runs than Australia.
Ooh, and do it twice, ideally.
This is a kind of cutting edge insight you listen to the spot for. Yeah, I'm actually they I think the batting needs to step up like that. Like if they can this match is going to go 5 days. If the rest of that team can step up and they can score quick runs, like that was a big thing missing, right? You know, somebody else could stay with Knight and make at least 50, 60, 70. Then I felt like they
Yeah.
could have got a lot closer to Australia. Now they do have 5 days to get a result. And they will have very keen to see how their bowling goes as well. They're trying out some very like their bowlers are a bit raw, I would say. Like I think
Hmm.
that sort of makes the batting's ability to compete with Australia even more important. So
Ah,
they are playing Lauren Bell, who I've got like Lauren Bell is one of the quick bowlers in the starting 11. They're playing a debutant, and they're playing Kate Cross, so they're playing three quicks. There's obviously Eccleston, who's elite, and they have a set of other bowling options,
nice.
Knight, Silvergrant, etc. And Bell is an interesting one because she's somebody who's still very young in her international career, but she's a great bowler, by the way. I'm such a big fan. She's one of those bowlers, like she's one of the quick bowlers who shares the new ball, but whose greatest strength is in controlling the runs. New Zealand's Jess Kerr is another similar bowler. I'm a big fan of both of them. So I think it's
Awesome.
really important for the batting to keep England in the game. So I think just that's going to be very interesting to watch. And maybe aggressive cricket's the way to go because they have players to play that way.
Ooh,
One thing
okay.
about the women's ashes that I want to add is that there are all these sort of like great players to watch out for from England, but the one player who I really got my eye on is Australia's is from Australia. Um, just very keen to see first of all if Phoebe Litchfield gets her Test cap, which is I think they're still sort of deliberating that. But man, if she plays, like she is the player to watch out for. She is the
Ooh,
rising star in sort of Australian cricket. She's only 20 years old, like the next sort of big thing, like the next big batting prospect. Plays for plays for the Thunder in the Women's Big Bash. Um, Easily one of my favorite players in my favorite T20 competition. So just definitely worth watching. She's like got so like she's got so many style points. Great to watch. Uh, very like a very adventurous player, can reverse sweeps quite a bit, which I'm
oh
very keen
God,
to see.
Jesus.
She's also very strong down the ground, scores quickly, and she's an absolute live wire in the field. Like really
Wow.
like in the T20 stuff, she tends to feel like a lot of the hot zones on the boundary. So like you see lots of like crazy catches. like a lot of crazy attempts as well. So just like like such an incredibly bright prospect and a very very exciting player. So I'm just very keen to
Yeah.
see, like very keen to watch Litchfield if she gets a start. And if Australia bat first, it's well worth watching the first session of that game just for Litchfield. Because
Cool.
what's going to happen, what's most likely to happen in that case is, if I read this right, because Alyssa Healy is the captain, because Meg Lanning's not on this tour,
Yeah.
she's going to have to, she's probably going to come lower down the order because of the
Keeping
accumulated
fatigue. Yeah,
responsibility
yeah.
of keeping wicket, captaining,
Mm.
and it being a 5-day game. So it'll probably be Mooney and Litchfield who open, followed by everybody else, and then Healy a little bit lower down. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say, it's 6:42 in Australia at the moment. That means it's just
Yep.
over an hour till the Ashes start. Sorry.
Yep.
Well, let's finish up here. I'll get you to help
Yep.
me edit the podcast. We might even be able to get it
Yep.
out before the game, which would be cool because obviously we can
Mm.
promote it as the game's starting. And I'm going to try to figure out how I can watch the Origin, the Women's Origin, and the Women's Ashes at the same time. So I will
Yep.
say, like, we'll obviously continue. We'll be continuing weekly cricket pod episodes. But we're going to mix it up a little bit between Sushant and I doing them, and us also getting guests on. So, anyways, we'll start to make announcements for that next week. But otherwise, thanks Sushant for coming on again. We'll catch you guys all soon. I think the next time we do this will probably be the day of the next Ashes test, the men's Ashes. Sorry, so
Yes.
we'll be able
Yep.
to talk about the women's Ashes and how that went, and a quick preview of the next men's Ashes test. Awesome. Enjoy
Yep.
the women's sport, everyone, and we'll catch you soon.